Have you ever stopped to think about how your mind shapes the way you see the world? Maybe you believe that things are just the way they are, period. But the truth is that our perception is constantly being influenced by how our brain processes reality. In today's video, you'll discover 7 psychological facts that will literally change the way you see life and, more importantly, help you understand how your behavior can be influenced without you even realizing it. So, let's dive into the incredible power of the human mind. Your mind creates realities that don't exist. You know when you wake up certain that the day is going to be terrible, and it actually turns out that way? Or when everything seems to go well, even though the world around you is chaotic? Well, that's no coincidence. What happens is that your brain has the power to filter reality according to your mental state. When you believe something will go wrong, your mind becomes more attuned to negative signs. But if you're confident and optimistic, the brain starts highlighting the good things around you. This is known as confirmation bias, a natural tendency to pay more attention to information that confirms what we already believe. In other words, if you're convinced that the world is a tough, unfair place, your brain will automatically search for proof that this is true. You can use this to your advantage. If you start the day believing things will go well, you'll be much more likely to spot opportunities, solutions, and good moments. You don't control your first impressions, but you can change them. We like to think that our impressions are always rational, right? Like, I know exactly why I liked or disliked that person. But the truth is that first impressions are automatic and occur long before you rationalize anything. Studies show that the brain takes only 7 seconds to form an initial impression of someone. Yes, 7 seconds. And this impression is mostly based on superficial things like appearance, posture, and even tone of voice. But here's the secret. Even though these first impressions are involuntary, they're not unchangeable. After the initial impression is formed, you can consciously decide to give someone a new chance and reinterpret them based on more objective information. So next time you catch yourself judging someone quickly, remember that your brain has already done this without even consulting you. But that doesn't mean you can't change your mind. Emotional pain is processed like physical pain. This is one of those facts that can change your perspective on the impact negative emotions can have on the body. When you physically hurt yourself, the brain activates specific areas like the anterior cingulate cortex and the insula, which are the regions responsible for pain. And guess what? When you go through emotional pain, like the end of a relationship or a major disappointment, these same areas of the brain are activated. That's why, many times, the pain of a broken heart can feel as real as a broken leg. Literally, your brain doesn't know how to differentiate very well between physical and emotional pain. This shows how powerful the impact of negative emotions can be, and how important it is to take care of your mental health just like you care for your physical health. When you're going through intense emotional pain, try self-care practices like exercise, healthy eating, and rest. All of this can help the brain cope better with suffering. You have more than one voice inside you. Have you ever stopped to observe your thoughts? Like, where they come from and how they arise. In fact, our mind is like a group of several voices. Some are more positive and encouraging, while others are critical and full of doubt. Science suggests that we have multiple internal parts that fight for our attention. There's the anxious part, the part that seeks security, the creative part, and so on. Many of these voices are influenced by past experiences, our beliefs, and even the fears we carry. But here's the trick. You don't have to be a hostage to the negative voice. When you catch yourself thinking destructively or self-sabotaging, you can consciously decide to ignore that voice and listen to a more compassionate and realistic one. Noticing these different internal voices is the first step to gaining more control over your emotions and actions. Your brain hates uncertainty, and it will make up answers. Uncertainty is one of the things that makes humans the most uncomfortable. Our brain is programmed to want to know everything. When it doesn't have all the information, it does something interesting. It starts making up explanations. This is known as narrative bias, where the brain builds stories to make sense of what's happening, even when there's not enough data to do so. It's like when you send a message to someone, and they take a long time to reply. Your mind starts creating various stories. Is she mad at me? Did something happen? Most of the time, these stories have no basis in reality, but the brain does this because it hates dealing with uncertainty. The solution? Practice the art of not knowing, that is, feeling comfortable with the fact that not everything needs an immediate answer. Your brain saves energy and deceives you. Have you ever felt like your brain was on autopilot? This happens because, in many situations, the brain prefers to conserve energy, opting for quick and automated responses. What few people know is that this energy saving can often deceive you. A famous study showed that, when faced with a difficult decision, people tend to choose the option that seems less risky, even if the opposite alternative offers greater rewards. This behavior is linked to the brain's need to conserve energy. Making complex decisions requires more mental effort, so the mind tends to simplify things, leading you to choose the easier path, not always the best one. To avoid falling into this trap, it's important to train the mind to act more consciously. Next time you find yourself in a decision-making situation, take a deep breath and try to analyze the scenario calmly, without letting your brain put you on autopilot. You adapt to almost everything, even to suffering. You know when something bad happens in your life, and you think you'll never recover? And then, suddenly, over time, things start to get a little easier? This is the power of adaptation. The human brain is an incredible machine of resilience. Studies show that, even after great losses or traumas, people tend to return to a baseline level of happiness after some time. This is what we call hedonic adaptation. Of course, this doesn't mean that suffering should be underestimated. The pains and challenges of life are real. But it's important to remember that you have an innate ability to adapt, overcome, and find new ways to live, even after the most difficult situations. Pain doesn't last forever. Over time, the brain learns to live with it and even find new meanings in the experience. The human mind is full of mysteries, isn't it? These 7 psychological facts not only change the way you see the world but also show how much more control you can have over how you perceive reality. From understanding how your first impressions are formed to knowing that you can adapt even to the worst situations, knowledge is always the first step to change. If you're committed to your personal development and want to keep evolving and leveling up, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Here, I always bring practical and powerful content to help you keep growing. And if this video helped you in any way, make sure to leave a like so that more people can be impacted as well. In the description, you'll find links to books that I've carefully selected, works that can completely transform the way you think and act. It's definitely worth checking out. And don't leave just yet. Take a look at the suggested videos here on the screen. They will help you even more on your personal development journey. See you there.